Hello and welcome. I'm David Bell, and we're here for another episode of UniEEcast. And joining me is my co-founder, Mr. Nick Looby.
Hello.
Now, Nick, we've been doing some great shows recently, and this one is going to be just as good as always. We have, a friend, a colleague that I've worked with over many, many years, and yourself, Nick, we've both supported. This person I'm going to introduce you to very shortly, Anglian Ruskin University. So welcome to Marcia Baldry from Anglian Ruskin. Good evening, Marcia.
Hello, David and Nick. Lovely to see you.
Marcia, thank you so much for joining us. This is such a great opportunity to have a conversation with you and find out a little bit more about what Marcia does at ARU and also, what ARU is doing not only for students but the community as well. And I know your role is so integral within the university, and you've been there a few years now. We won't go back into too much history.
No,
We're
best
gonna
you don't.
we're going to talk about the now and the present. And your role is all about looking after enterprise and entrepreneurship. But what does that really mean? I mean, we understand entrepreneurship, we understand enterprise, but what is it that Marcia does at Anglian Ruskin University, and how do you glue it all together?
Well, funny you should say that. And thank you both for inviting me along this evening. It's a great pleasure to see you both. And I know you're both great supporters of Anglia Ruskin and of me personally. So I've said it before and I will say it again, that I've probably got the best job in the university because I do have that I am dealing with on a daily basis students that are so enterprising and so determined to succeed from right across the board, all faculties or campuses of the university. And it's just a great pleasure from my perspective to see them grow and develop, see their careers develop, whatever they want to do when they leave us, be able to be part of their journey, I suppose, really. And I know we talk very blandishly about enterprise and entrepreneurship and, oh yes, they're very different, or are they the same thing? And they are very integrated, if I can put it that way. And we have lots of enterprising students. Many of them will end up as entrepreneurs. So I think it's a complete journey and a complete network of things that go on to make them into those people that they're going to be eventually. Whether or not they're going to set out and carry on with their career, their university degree, and then leave us and perhaps work for another organisation, or whether or not they decide that they'd like to set up their own small enterprise, their own small business, or they want to go and work for a bigger company and be integral to that company as an entrepreneur and help that company to grow and develop. Whatever that student wants, I am and my team are here to support them. So that's me, really.
And one thing I got to say, Marcia, every time we've had an interaction, and I've been involved in something that you've organised within the university, it's always been great fun.
Absolutely.
There's a zest, there's a passion and an enthusiasm around what it is you bring to that particular audience. And it's diverse, isn't it? So over the years, you must have seen so many different kind of ideas and potential businesses flourish. Do you think people are more in kind of more likely to go it alone at the moment? Do you think there's more kind of entrepreneurship bubbling up, or do you think it's always been that way? Are we more entrepreneurial or less so now?
Interesting you should say that, Nick. It is fascinating, actually, because now at this moment in time, of course, the job market is particularly stretched and challenging, as it has always been in a way. But students are quite resilient. I found more recently that they think, okay, so I might not be able to get that job that I had envisaged when I started my degree course. I might have to think of something different and look a bit outside the box and do something for me, something that I'm passionate about, but that will also do good for others. I find students are very much wanting to be socially enterprising. I think the social enterprise side of enterprise has really come on leaps and bounds, and students would have a great satisfaction about doing something for the good of the planet, of people, socially within, I mean, we work quite a lot at the moment with county councils, and of course, county councils are very pressured at the moment, particularly with COVID and everything else. And students are really engaging with society and how they can make a difference to that society. So you're right in what you're saying. I think it has made students think a little bit differently about what they're going to do when they leave us, you know, and that journey. And perhaps they might have started out on a particular program, and perhaps they think, oh, actually, I'm not quite sure how that's going to fit when I leave, or something else has come into my mind. I've got a passion for something else. And you're right, it's all about that passion. And yes, we can succeed and we can have fun doing it. I mean, I'm a great believer in don't do anything unless you enjoy it. Why would you? You know, why would you stick at something if you're thinking, oh my goodness, why am I doing this? You know, if I've got to get out of bed every day for this. So if you've got something that you enjoy doing, you're going to do it well, aren't you? So I think that's part of what we do. We really want to inspire students to be and understand themselves, not just what they want to do, but how do they do it? What do they need from themselves, from within, to put them in that position? Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah. Perfect sense. And I know our listeners and viewers, because they can watch as well as listen to this, will resonate with that 100%. Now, I think it's really important. One is to identify Anglia Ruskin as an entrepreneurial university. In the past, they have earned the plaque to put up on the wall and scream and shout around the country that we are an entrepreneurial university. Was it 2016?
16, yeah, I think it was 16. Yeah.
2016 Entrepreneurial University of the Year. Now, that doesn't happen just by luck. That comes with lots of hard work, blood, sweat and tears. And I know you was, you know, so integral in making that potentially, you know, all come together along with other academics and other members of the team. But there's lots of things that, you know, and I've been involved with and seen with my own eyes over the years that ARU do really well. And there's a couple of programs, and I wanted just to pick up on and identify some of these programs.
Absolutely.
One of them's called Be Your Own Boss, which I think now is in probably year 10, 11 of maybe we're up to that sort of level now, are we?
No, I think gosh, you know, now you've thrown me, I think. Because a lot of what I do, or the majority of what I do, is all extracurricular. So it's everything that students, we're asking a lot of those students, because they're coming along to a suite of extracurricular events that they've got to fit in with their other studies. So they've really got to want to do this. This is why that, you know, we have the creme de la creme, if you think about it. Those students that really want to engage and do something different. So the suite of seminars we used to run called Be Your Own Boss, they are now, as you well know, David, webinars, because obviously we've had to put everything online. But those seminars, I think they might be in their 9th year, because I think the big pitch, which is always, we can come on to that later if you like, the big pitch is probably in its 10th or 11th year. So Be Your Own Boss was a little bit after that in its sort of present format. But they are small, short sessions where students can learn a bit, not only about themselves, but from experts and professionals in different aspects of society about becoming your own boss. So starting up a small enterprise. And that can come from just a bright idea, a bright business idea. Yes, I want to do something. I want to set up a cafe or something. A bit ridiculous at the moment, I know, but you know, they want to do something. And it's just a seed in their mind. But then during these seminars, which are weekly at the moment, and they last for about an hour and a half, and we have, as I say, a guest speaker along or an academic to talk about a specific aspect of setting up a business, from marketing, from intellectual property, from funding, financing, right the way through to actually producing the business plan as well. So those sessions, we do it normally across the first semester from sort of October through to Christmas, and then a little bit beyond. But during that time, the students can actually either dip in and out of those sessions as and when they want to, or they can actually progress from one to the other. So that they do actually gain those skills and knowledge, understanding, and the mindset in order to take that forward. So that's really important. And that's why students who do attend really appreciate it, because that's extra to what their day-to-day studies are. So, and it's how they can perhaps use their studies in a different way. They can use the things that they've learned academically and put them into practice, which is also another way of taking that forward.
I'd love the idea of taking a passion and then applying that to potentially a seed of an idea, and it tends to grow, doesn't it? There's this lovely turn of phrase that it starts off as a side hustle. Okay, so it's just something I've got going on the side, and then it tends to grow. And by the sound of it, that all of those the tools required, that business toolbox that you put together, all of the seminars, all of the learnings and the information that you can take on board, kind of builds on that seed. And not surprising, you could leave university, that side hustle that might generate some well required funds, but then can become something a bit more important than chasing let's say a career that you thought you were going to chase before you joined university. I love the fact that there's a massive amount of social responsibility as well. It's hugely inherent in a student's plans.
It is, and you're right, Nick. You don't necessarily, the students don't necessarily, after they've been through Be Your Own Boss, they don't necessarily go away and start their own business, but they certainly have much more confidence in potentially looking at different aspects of business and looking at themselves differently, thinking, oh, perhaps I could do that after all. I didn't think I could, but actually, I think I'll give it a go. And that's what I'd always say. Excuse me, just give it a go. If you think about it, don't think too long. I'm sorry, I should have to get some water. Or a gin and tonic or something.
Sounds good. There we go.
I should have had this before. I didn't.
It's the excitement of this conversation. That's what it is. It's telling us about how great Anglia Ruskin University is, and the great things that you're delivering. Be Your Own Boss, obviously, being one of those platforms which I've been involved with, for a number of years now, and it's rewarding as well. So rewarding. Obviously, you're working with students. We've had some students come along, sat when we were in the real world and we were allowed to be on campus, sit at the back of the classroom, kept themselves to themselves on the first few, times, and then they started to come out. They started to become more confident and wanted to share and participate. By the end of it, after typically we were doing 10 to 12 seminars, which, as you say, have now become webinars, we've seen these individuals absolutely changed people. And then they've gone on, believe it or not, and I'm going to hopefully reach out to some of these ARU students in the future and ask them to come onto the show and talk about their story, because some of them have gone on to start up their own businesses and doing phenomenally well. And I do believe that's not only the content they gain from the Be Your Own Boss sessions, but it's the relationships that they develop throughout, the mentors that they have the conversations with, and it's the belief in themselves that becomes a big part of it. If anyone could do it, I can do it. And that's what I really love about the Be Your Own Boss program. But you mentioned something else earlier, the big pitch. Now, I know the big pitch. Now, I know for ARU, this is a big thing because it draws a lot of attention, not only from in the university, but from outside. What is the big pitch and how does it work and what's it all about? And how can they join? Hopefully we've got some ARU students watching this. How could they participate when it comes round to that time of year?
Okay, well, the big pitch is, I think it's in its 11th year. 2021, I think will be its 11th year. And it's our annual business planning competition. Well, it's a business ideas competition. We sorted out, it's in 3 stages. A student has a bright idea for a business and they have to make a 1-minute video and upload that onto our platform, which they will learn all about come February next year. We'll be launching the 2021 Big Pitch. And it's for real money prize. So we've got £10,000 that we have put aside for prize funding for the Big Pitch. Now, as I say, it does run in 3 rounds. The first round is uploading a video, a 1-minute video of their pitch. So this can be quite simple. They need to get their message across, what it is they've got, what problem is it solving, who's going to buy it or who's going to come to them for it, what's their unique selling proposition, all in a minute. So they upload that, and that goes out to public vote. So their friends, families can vote for the one they like the best. And then we have all of the others. We tend to have about between 30 and 50 different ideas uploaded. And then we have a panel of judges, and I know you've actually been a judge yourself, haven't you, David, at some stage, more than once. Judges select another, perhaps 5 or 10 that they also think should go through to the second round. So we generally have between 10 and 20 in a second round semi-final, which we have in the past as a boot camp, a 2-day residential boot camp, which unfortunately last year we couldn't have because of various things that prevented us having that. So we did it differently. And presumably we would do it differently next year as well. But these, say, 20 really good ideas have some real in-depth training to help them develop their idea, and more importantly, to be able to pitch that idea for funding. And then we have a grand final where some of those, or another stage, of course, through the after the boot camp, we select probably about 5 to go through to the grand final. So we really whittled them down. So these 5 are really, really important and got their ideas quite set out in stone then they go to a grand final, which is like a Dragon's Den type final, where they pitch for their funding. And that's it basically. But of course, there's so much more to it than that. There's lots of support and mentoring and coaching that goes on behind the scenes before we actually announce finals. And another panel of dragons at the grand final select whoever they want to crown as the big pitch finalists. And sometimes we have other prizes as well at that stage. We have this year and last year we had engineers in business gave a prize, and we have other supporters. Sometimes we've had support from other social enterprises. So we've got lots of involvement from outside the university as well. But it's our big event, if you like.
Yeah.
And students then can go on to do all sorts of things. Once they've won, then they can obviously have help putting their business plan really together, and then going out for further funding if that's what they want to do, depending on exactly what that is.
I've experienced it from close up and from afar, and it's a beautiful blend of X Factor meets Dragon's Den. It's both petrifying and awesome all at the same time. And yeah. I just wish when I was at university that I could have accessed the not just the process but all of the learning that goes with that. I would have been absolutely put this as polite as possible. Petrified, essentially. And now I speak for a living, so it's one of those things that if you kind of grasp that opportunity and you've got the courage to dip in to all of that experience and knowledge and that camaraderie that goes with it, so key.
That's important, isn't it?
So key in business, isn't it?
Yeah, the camaraderie, the networking, and what David does, the helping people to really be able to pitch their idea. It's so important, whether or not you're pitching for funding, or you're going to the bank and asking for a bank loan, or you're at that interview telling somebody you're the best person for that job, you're going to need those skills. So whatever you do, it's always going to be with you. It's not a waste of time or anything. And it's great fun. You're right, we do have a lot of fun doing it. Nobody's put down.
We have great fun doing it, and we see some great talent come through. Not everyone can win, but I know what we do is we get to the end and we have the final, and quite often, we can allocate that £10,000 accordingly based on, who we feel can take their business idea forwards. And we've seen some great businesses come out of it, and these are, making a difference in the world today. And let's say, we're not going to kind of jump in and start saying who they are because I want to get them on the show, but, from people supporting NHS during this really, tough time of COVID, and, others that are running IT companies and developed apps. There's been such a great array of fantastic ideas that have come out of it. But they're not just an idea, they're an idea that creates and forms a business. and
Yes.
there's no doubt they're going to go on to be super successful. And maybe one day we'll see one of those sitting up the top there as a, as a future Facebook or SpaceX or Virgin or something like that, and we can all
That's
have
it.
the pat on the back to say we were part of that little journey. We kind of gave
Exactly.
a step on that road.
In fact, we have some of them. In fact, one recently has come back, as an alumni and is happy to talk to other students and just talk about their experiences and tell their story. And I think that's the important bit. It is a story. It's a total story, from beginning to end. They've come perhaps, and not all of them win the big pitch. I mean, and the big pitch does cover all faculties. It's not just business school students. We've had winners from health and social care, engineering. We've had winners from arts and sciences. So we have a complete cross section of students that have those ambitions to start their own businesses. And sometimes they don't all succeed, but they all appreciate the support they've had and the knowledge that they've had that they can take forward into whatever they do in the future. And it's people like yourself, David, and you, Nick, that have come along and given of your time to impart your experiences to the students, which makes such a difference. It really is. Seeing is believing, and being there. I know we can't do it face to face at the moment, but just seeing people on the screen is better than just doing it by post or something. So it's the next best thing, really.
Absolutely. Martin, we're coming close to the end, but I want to kind of get you to talk about something that's quite new for ARU, an adapted version. You'll know where I'm going to go with this.
I
Impact
do.
Or Nick mentioned earlier actually about society and working out in the community and stuff like that. Now Impact 24 is I think going to be the third time now. This is going to be the third time that you've run it, but we're having to do it differently this year as well because now it's having to be due to lockdown and various other things. It's going to be the first set's probably going to be online. It's going to be run
Yes,
through
yeah.
Microsoft Teams, obviously the chosen platform for Anglia and Ruskin to carry out all that digital communication. What is Impact
Yes.
24 and
Right.
what's it going to do? Because it's pretty super exciting, and I know our listeners and viewers are going to, go, wow, I want to be part of this. How can I join?
Yeah, this is really exciting. This is sort of almost hot off the press, actually. It's not quite launched yet, but last year we ran Impact 24. That was the first time we did it actually on our own, and we worked with local charities. And basically, it's a 24-hour out of the classroom challenge. So basically, students have 24 hours in which to solve or partially solve or put together at least a proposal for a societal challenge. So this year, or 2021, will be slightly different in as much as we're working closely with Cambridgeshire and Essex County Councils. And we're going to be looking at challenges that they are going to be giving us. So these are going to be real, actual challenges that we're going to be asking for students to volunteer or to express interest in helping to solve. And with hopefully at the end of the day, not immediately, but certainly after the challenge and after, if they come up with some really good proposals, they'll be able to help the councils implement those challenges. So initially, we're asking students, it's going to be 24 hours, flat out, looking at after yourself at the same time, but looking at these challenges and how they're going to work together in teams, both Microsoft Teams and in Teams themselves, to try and solve these challenges in a 24-hour period. And they will probably be asked to put together a presentation of some description that will be judged eventually by the council. So it's going to be a real life 24 hours out of your day. And whatever happens, think how good that looks on any CV, because the amount of support the students will get as well along the line is going to be phenomenal. So they will have mentoring, support before, during, and after. So they're not going to be left on their own to just fester away or do their own thing. It's going to be a real teamwork. They will learn more about themselves as well, but also inwardly they'll know that they're helping society, whether or not their problem or their solution is actually implemented. but they would have actually done the work anyway, and had some fun on the way too.
Yeah,
So really, that's sums it up. Really, that's a good sort of summing up, I suppose, isn't it? Really, because that really is very much. It won't happen until we're literally going to be advertising that the end of this month. So we watch this space, and we can keep you updated, perhaps.
absolutely, watch this space and get your matchsticks, Prozac, Red Bull all prepared.
Yeah.
24 hours, it might sound like a doddle. I've been there, I've done it, supported and mentored through those 24-hour sessions, and God, they're challenging. And I'm not the one doing all the work. I'm just there to be a pair of hands to support and provide some advisory advice. And but they are great fun as well, and you see a very different dynamic from the students, because they're working as teams. They're putting input in. They're working on creating videos and content and building really they're building a business idea. In theory, they could launch that business idea at the end. I know they don't often, but this is going to be a little bit different with the councils now, because there is that to actually take it forward and develop it further with the councils if the idea is that good as well.
Yes, yeah. So lots of opportunity. The sky's the limit.
Yeah, absolutely. Marcia, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you with us today and to share some background about Anglia and Ruskin University, what you do at the university. I would like to say, thank you. It's been a pleasure to have you here today and working with you. And I'm, sure Nick, I can see him nodding away there on the screen. I would say exactly the same. Working with ARU is an absolute pleasure, and being part of something and seeing the change that takes place with students, how they progress and go on. And lots of those students I'm still talking to now, and they're in, I'm going to use the words, the big wide world. They're out there running their businesses, and most of you know I get involved with the Federation of Small Businesses as well, and they're coming along and they're supporting various events like that. So it's so nice to see this transitional change in students as they go through the steps and become entrepreneurial, intrapreneurial, because some do obviously go on to work within an organisation.
Well, the pleasure's been all mine as well, and thank you so much for inviting me. I've really enjoyed it, and it's a great pleasure working with both of you, and long may it continue, because it's really lovely. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Marcia. It's been an absolute pleasure. So Nick, there we go. Another episode of UniEEcast. Another fantastic guest.
Isn't it a joy? Isn't it a joy? That saying that an investment in knowledge is never wasted. It's just so much joy to see that it's not just an investment in knowledge, but it's an investment in practice as well. So many initiatives that you actually get to do the stuff as well as learn the stuff. Excellent.
Well, what we're going to do, I think we're going to leave it, because otherwise we could sit here between us and we could carry on talking about enterprise, entrepreneurship, how things that we can all do can make a difference. But until next time, Nick, till we come back on another UniEEcast, thank you once again to Marcia. I'm David Bell. Thank you very much for joining myself. And
I'm Nick Looby. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, guys. All the best.
Thank you. Bye.